That's a little weird. Oh, there we go. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Daily Whatever Show. I am Lawrence Winterman. My beautiful co host Dana Dubois is on her way. Oh, here she is. And we're joined by the equally lovely Melissa Corrigan. How you doing, Melissa?
Hello. Good, good. How are you?
I'm good. It's great to see you. I am going to add Dana. Here we go. One, two, three. There
All
she
right. One,
is.
two, three, go. There she
Hello.
is.
We are already live.
I see that. Good morning, everybody. I went live
Good.
as soon as I got the link. Phew! What
Excellent.
a morning.
Yeah, honestly, it has been, I don't know if this is true for the two of you. It has been such a freaking Monday so far.
Yes.
Is that
Yes.
okay? I'm
Well,
not the
it's
only
only
one.
7 a.m. here. So,
We've had
Right.
more
It's still
opportunity
very,
for Monday events. Yes.
exactly. But
yeah, a warning
I'm
from the future out here on the East Coast. It's Monday.
it's
Like, it's
Monday. It is
really
a
Monday. It's
total.
serving Monday so hard.
Would you
It's
I
giving
love it
Monday.
serving Monday. Would you believe I still am working this week? Like I still have to go in the office.
I
Or
Ew.
you would believe, yeah.
I would
So
believe that because I know
it
where you work, and that sounds
yes.
exactly
Yes.
like them.
Yes. And so it won't really feel like Christmas until Christmas Eve.
I feel like
Because
this has got to be like their busiest week, though,
not
right? Like it's got to
necessarily,
be
and
busy.
I don't know,
Oh,
not really, but um I don't want to talk anymore about my job. We got lots of other exciting things to talk
Well,
about.
we do. We do.
So usually we do the like quick check-in of how we're all doing before we get into the news.
Yeah, I mean, but screw that. We got breaking news from Julie Roginski to talk about.
Exactly. And
yes.
who better to talk about it with than you, Melissa? Because like so last night I was like doing the futzing, having the computer on, all the things Sunday evening, right? And I see Julie is live with Michelle. Julie Roginski and Michelle Kinney are live Mayday Network, breaking a story. And it reminded me of just 2 weeks ago when we broke your well, Blue Ant Media broke your story and we reported on it the next day, Melissa, and just that excitement and the hustle and the being so grateful that independent journalism is still
Yes.
freaking happening,
Right.
right?
Yes.
Like
Mm-hmm.
that was the big takeaway, like initial takeaway for me of like, oh yeah, I bet this is only on Substack. I bet no news sources have picked this up yet.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh my gosh, Melissa's coming on tomorrow. No one knows better than you about this because you just went through this. And Julie is one of the ones who helped elevate your story.
Yeah.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
a full circle
And
like that.
she was amazing. She was amazing. Like in terms of she was the first like big show that I went on, and she was so reassuring and calm and professional to guide me through, you know,
Yeah.
Oh,
telling the
I,
story. So yeah.
Part of what I love about Julie is she's just such a badass, you know? Like
Yes.
I know.
she's just like, I got this.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
good. Follow my lead.
I
Right.
know.
Right.
And she's so accomplished and so smart and so incisive about her work. And she's also so cool and kind. We've had her on the show a couple times and
Yeah.
like just so human. And so I wrote to her yesterday right after the live was done, and I was like, any way in which we can help support this, and she was like, oh, I'd love if you talk about it on your show.
Yes.
And so I was like, done and done. We didn't really have a theme today. We were going to kind of do an end of year recap, looking back at 2025 and a what's coming in 2026. But like
And
this
what does
is our
Kira think of
takeaway
it?
from 2025, and this is what we have to look forward to in 2026 is the like ever increasing caliber of independent journalism that's happening on Substack.
Yeah.
And the
And I
need
feel
for
like,
it, like just
Yeah.
the stuff that I hear about. Like I'm working on another story right now that isn't exactly breaking news, but also no mainstream media has picked it up.
right.
Even
Right.
local news around where this, you know, situation is are pretty much ignoring the situation. So yeah, that's another part of it, is not just that the news is so exclusive that only independents are getting to it. It's that mainstream media is refusing to
Yeah.
talk about
Yes.
some stuff.
Yeah,
And not
that's so right.
Yeah, and not holding people accountable. You all do hear Kira. I have done a Monday. Okay, remember we talked about it's a Monday. Her treats are in the kitchen.
Go,
Let me just mute for 1
go get
second.
them.
I gotta go get them, or we're gonna be listening.
Well,
Do you hear
Melissa,
that?
while
She's
Dana's doing
threatening
that,
you.
right? She's holding you hostage. While Dana's doing that, Melissa, and before we get into the stories that Julie and Michelle were breaking yesterday and today, maybe tell people real quick about DeleteGate, the story that you broke about 10 days ago now, on what was happening on the USS Iwo Jima.
Oh my God, it feels like a month. It's been 10 days. Well,
Doesn't it? Right? I mean,
yeah,
I'm guessing it was 10 days. I was like, it
it
feels
hasn't
like
been
three
much longer than
months,
that.
but it's
Yeah,
internet time in Trump, so it's probably
It's
only
been
like a
two
week and a
weeks.
half.
It's
yeah,
been 2 weeks. Sorry, hi, I'm the disembodied
yeah.
voice. It's been 2 weeks because 2 weeks ago was the 8th, and you were out, and Melissa and Cliff were here, and we were talking about it.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
So exactly
yeah.
2 weeks.
So the general gist of the story is that there was a boat strike and there were two survivors. They were pulled out of the water. Now we know pretty much with certainty that they were in the water for 24 hours or
Wow.
12 to 24 hours because the strike actually happened on the 16th. And then on the 17th, these two men were pulled out of the water, brought on board the Iwo Jima by Marines, who immediately began sort of arguing with the shipboard personnel about the standard procedure of taking video and said the Commodore ordered no video. Those on board the ship prevailed and video was taken. But then 2 hours later, the order came down from the admiral. Now we're still talking about which admiral was still in charge that day.
Right.
To delete that video. And even though the shipboard personnel protested and pointed to this regulation and that code and the Geneva Convention, they were still outweighed by the Pentagon and still ordered to delete video footage. So the U.S. Navy has no record of these two men being on board the Iwo Jima. They have no video, and they were both repatriated to their own countries, both of which have declined to prosecute because, as the Colombian president said, any evidence that we could use to prosecute this man is now on the bottom of the ocean, thanks to you. So not sure how you expect us to prosecute with no evidence because we don't run our justice system that way. So, yeah, that's in a nutshell what
Yeah.
happened.
So the thing that I think ties these two stories together, right, is that we are getting evidence that the Trump administration, in completely different pieces of the administration, is doing the things that we all thought that they would do, right? Like in our worst
Right.
imaginings, we thought, would this administration like try to set us up to go to war and then delete the video evidence that they're happening, that it's happening? Yes, and they are, and that's what your story proved. And then the story that Julie and Michelle broke yesterday is, did we all kind of think that the reason it was taking so long to get the Epstein files out is because they were going through and redacting every time Trump's name
Yes.
appeared? Yes. And Julie's story proves that that's true. We knew it. We knew it as a hunch that that was be what it was going on, but Julie and Michelle kind of like blew it open with this evidence. And we should probably, Dana, do you want to kind of summarize for folks like what Julie's story shows, basically?
Sure. Yeah, a lot of folks in the chat are like, "What's Julie's story? What's Julie's story?" And
Right.
I caught the tail end of this yesterday. Have a bit of a summary of it here. So the Trump, sorry, the files that were just released, that the Trump administration just released, things were heavily redacted. We all saw that. It was like comically redacted. Trump's name not mentioned at all. And what Julie found was she was showing a screenshot of the redacted comment. I think we've heard a lot about it. It was pretty gross, but it was
Yeah,
about
it's
nipples and pert
yeah.
nipples, and
Mhm.
What
we won't
Trump
go into
liked to
details.
do to the victims
Yes.
that he raped. Yes.
But a year ago, the Biden administration had released that same part of the Epstein files, not redacted,
Yeah.
Mhm.
as part of a different court case. And his name is right there. It's right there. So one of the main points that she was making on her show yesterday was that, first of all, that's awful. Like we can just pause there and be horrified that it's redacted.
Right.
But on Meet the Press,
Todd Blanche, the
yeah,
guy
sorry,
who negotiated Ghislaine Maxwell's
yes,
non-confession of, when she professed that Trump was absolutely innocent and didn't do
yes,
anything out of the ordinary with underage
no,
girls.
to him it's probably not out of the ordinary, but
Right,
yes,
exactly. So this guy, Todd Blanche, that DOJ lawyer, he was on Meet the Press. And go ahead, sorry.
yeah. And he said the only times that names were redacted was to protect the victims, and that it was not to take out names like Trump's name. So he blatantly lied on Meet the Press. Meet the Press being kind of the gold standard of legacy media,
Right,
and no one on Meet the Press had their shit together
right,
to challenge that assertion. So these were the points, kind of the top level points coming out was, of course, they were redacted just the way we thought that they were redacted. Um, if someone had done their homework, they would have seen that this part of it had been exposed just a year ago. And on Meet the Press, he was perfectly willing to lie, and that no one on Meet the Press challenged his lies.
right.
So it's kind of a four punch, like deep levels of how many things are wrong
Right.
in this story.
It shows that like the corruption and the rot like goes all the way to the root, basically, which again, it's not surprising to us, but it's being revealed. And then Julie published another article this morning.
Yeah, talk
Uh,
about that one because I am just waking up to it, so I
yeah,
haven't had a
so in
chance
that
to
one,
read it.
basically, there's a document that was released with the Epstein files that leaves a victim's name unredacted, right? So in that
Okay.
document, the victim's name is unredacted, but Trump's name is redacted. And so the whole
Ugh.
like we're only redacting the names of the victims is like clearly not true. I mean,
Right.
I suppose if you're MAGA, Trump is the victim, right? But
Oh my God.
obviously, fuck that if that's indeed the way that they're playing this. What seems more likely is that this was a warning shot to all of the other victims out there, all the other survivors, that if you don't shut your mouth, your name too will be released accidentally as a part of the Epstein files. And so
Oh my
it's literally
God.
like the whole sort of mob boss playbook, right? Of we're gonna lie, we're gonna tell you like don't believe the evidence of your own eyes. We're gonna blatantly cover our tracks right in front of your faces, and then also apply a pressure campaign on the victims, on the survivors, so that they feel like they are not allowed to come forward and speak the truth. It's fucking gross. And we knew
Well,
that
let
these
me
people.
tell you, this is an old playbook. I
Yep.
grew up in this playbook. I grew up in the Southern Evangelical Church, where if a pastor, it seemed to always be youth pastors. If a youth pastor got inappropriately involved with a 16-year-old girl, they would bring him up on stage, and the other pastors would lay their hands on him and pray for his salvation
Mm.
Ugh.
while that
Lord
young
Jesus.
girl got talked to about how she was in the wrong. She knew he was a married man. She should have known better. Maybe
She
it
was
was those
tempting him.
leggings that she
Right.
wore
If
to
only she didn't
church
dress
that
like that,
tempted
Melissa.
him. So this is an old playbook.
Oh
If
my
you grew
God.
up in the evangelical church, this is completely normalized, which is probably why there's this big overlap of MAGA and conservative evangelicals who now look at the Trump situation as, oh, well, can we just lay our hands on him and pray for him and he can be forgiven, while his victims, we can question, why were you there? Why were you around a bunch of older, wealthier men? You knew what you were doing. You knew what you were walking into. So they have primed so much of the MAGA base to just accept and forgive and move on from horrific acts of pedophilia, because we grew up with horrific acts of pedophilia, which
Yeah.
we were told were our fault and not possibly the fault of the men who stumbled.
Yeah. So we've got This Woman Votes. Rachel from This Woman Votes is in the chat. And she says it's called selective violence, the saturation, enclosure, capture, and selective violence pattern. And thanks for being here, Rachel, and thanks for calling that out. Like
Yeah.
it's true, Melissa. You're right. Like this is a playbook as old as time. You know, older men who literally know better, uh, proclaiming themselves victims at the hands of those evil teenage girls who,
Mm-hmm.
you know, have seduced them and lolitaed them and whatever, right? And it's absolute bullshit. It absolutely abdicates any agency on the part of the men involved, and you know, and it's being played out right in front of our fucking faces.
Yeah.
As a part of the whole Epstein file release. Like, could these people be more disgusting? The answer, of course, is no. It's on
It's no.
page 37.
Right. um, Everything about this administration is traumatizing for victims. Like, and I say that as like my victim is a very little lowercase v of just like a verbally abusive dad. You know, like he's fine, but he yells a lot. And um, but I've talked. I've talked about this before on the show of like I live 3,000 miles away from him for a good reason. And there's always been this feeling in life of like seeking out where I can have my own power and not feel just not be around people who are
Mm-hmm.
unkind or dangerous. And now, like, we are all beholden to this madness every day. There's no way out. I can't even imagine how these victims feel knowing that every time they come forward and have like this much success, they're just getting smacked around by the very top powers in the world. Like, it's so grotesque that I'm
Grotesque
just
is a
having
really
Well,
good word for it.
if you will allow me just a minute to conjecture
always,
on,
Please.
please.
so I have been beating this drum for years now because of how it feeds into the private adoption industry, but it feeds into this as well. In 1989, the UN held a convention on the rights of the child. The US
Okay.
was not there. The US refused to sign or ratify a document declaring that children have human rights. And part of the reason that they did that, I'm pretty convinced, was they were in the height of the evangelical private adoption surge. I know my adoption was in 1989. So
Mm.
the thought that the year I was being taken to court and stripped of my name, my identity, any cultural knowledge that or connection I may have had to my ancestors was all severed in court, while across the world, the UN was meeting to prevent that from happening. That same year, almost the same month, they were meeting to say that private adoption is human trafficking. The US has yet to declare that. There are private adoption agencies
Wow.
that make millions every year from selling babies. There's no way. If you have a cash flow sheet and a board of directors that is guiding shareholder decisions in terms of the sale of human babies, it's a sale. Okay. It's a business. There's no way to really spin that any other way. But here's the thing. If we had implemented these human rights for children back in 1989, it would have been tremendously more difficult for the activities that
Oh
happened
my God.
underneath Epstein to occur. It would have been much more difficult. And those children, because they were children, would have had the availability to go to get legal assistance for themselves, representation. If they simply could have gone to an attorney and said, my human rights are being violated in this way, we could have cut this off at the neck. But you saw this happen in 1989, where America refused to participate in this. And then you saw throughout the 1990s, you had the Abercrombie kids and Hollister kids
Hmm.
being, now we know they were being trafficked and abused. And on into the 2000s, where the Epstein ring got going in full. You saw things like Justin Bieber's mom signing custody over for 12 hours. And now we know what happened in that 12 hours. If we were falling under the UN rights of the child, she would not have been able to do that. Justin Bieber himself may not have been trafficked in the way that he was, which was quite public and everybody just kind of knew what was happening. and
I'm gonna
didn't.
say
So
I don't
what
know
this
this
is,
story. Like I don't know the Justin Bieber
I don't know
story.
this story either. And I'm also Googling Abercrombie Hollister kids.
the Abercrombie CEO was accused back in the early 2000s of
Right.
sexual abuse of the models that they had, the Abercrombie models, which were all teenage boys.
And American
Um,
Apparel too, I think, right?
right, right.
Yeah.
And he owned
Yeah.
more than one of these
Yeah.
companies. I'm not sure of all of them. Bieber's mom signed custody over for 12 hours, and he was then handed directly over. She signed custody to Usher, and Usher literally took this boy to P. Diddy, just took him directly there. Whatever happened after that, Justin has implied what's happened after that, and we all know the mental health issues that came out of that. Again,
How
the
many adult in
entire
the society and I
entertainment
don't know this
industry would
story?
not have been able to treat children the way they were if we were operating under the UN rights of the child.
You know what? That's it. I'm gonna invent a time machine and I'm going back in time. And bear with me. Hang on. I'm gonna make it so Dukakis wins the 1988 election. I
That's
mean,
a
Yep,
heavy lift, Lawrence.
it's
it
a
is.
pretty heavy lift. I might it might be easier to just go back and I don't know.
Pick another candidate and
Yeah,
make
pick
that
a
candidate
completely
win.
different candidate. I mean, I'm joking, but isn't it interesting how so many of the issues that we are dealing with today, like literally really dealing with today
Yes.
as a society, come directly from policies that were or were not put into place under the Reagan Bush administrations, and how we are paying the price 40 years later for those decisions. It's pretty
Yes.
remarkable. Like we are losing the country
Yeah.
because we were sold a bill of goods on trickle down economics, and that states, should have the right to determine what kids get educated about, and parents should have the right to pull their kids out of public education. Like all of these things can be directly traced back to kind of that period of time where the chickens are literally coming home to roost right now.
Yep.
Yeah, Lawrence, the chat is weighing in with this, and I agree. If you're gonna go invent that time machine and go back, like, you gotta go back a little further than Dukakis and take out Reagan is what you really need to do. You gotta,
Okay, yeah.
yeah, go back a little further.
Yes.
And Melissa, I love that you just took a completely disparate story and wove it together so that it's like, yes, of course, that is the root of so much of this. And Barbara's asking in the chat, with it, oops, the chat's flying by. With a children's right declaration, would it affect the rights of trans kids? Yes,
Yeah.
unquestionably.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, in Europe, when a child
Mhm.
is not able to be cared for by their parents, because we all understand that that is unfortunately something that
Yeah,
happens. There are parents that are abusive or addicted, or if for whatever reason not able to care for their kids. In
Right.
Europe and all other countries that have established and ratified the rights of the child, they are taken under legal guardianship. So they are still placed with a responsible adult. They don't change their name. They don't cut them off from their cultural identity. In fact, all of those things are protected. You have to continue facilitating that child worshiping the religion they came from, whatever cultural practices. You have to preserve all of that. Their name, definitely, you don't change their name. If
Hmm.
there are other members of their biological family that are okay for them to interact with, you are to facilitate those relationships. And this is a no-brainer to me. If your true intent is to protect this child from harm, you're
yeah,
not going to further harm them by changing their name, cutting their culture. That is harmful to them. So you're going to preserve all of that. And there are also such strict rules around the transfer of guardianship of a child, whether into the foster care, into guardianship, and God forbid, across country lines, national lines. You can't just take that kid wherever you want.
Right.
So it has
right.
it has protected these kids and allowed them to preserve their identities in ways that's completely foreign to American adoptees. And now we've all had to give our DNA to companies that we know goddamn well are going to abuse that information.
Hmm.
But it's the only way that we could find. It's the only way I found my family was through Ancestry.
Right.
So that's unheard of in countries that have accepted this UN
God,
doctrine.
Melissa, it's like we've talked about this before. It's like they want to adopt a pet.
Yes.
They want a tabula rasa kid. They want a kid who they think has no baggage, no background. And by they, I mean the families who are taking these kids in, or worse, I don't begrudge the families. Like, I think most families have good intent when they adopt a child. I'm sorry yours didn't, but a lot do. But it's the companies and the money they're making that they think they're a better product. This is what's coming to mind for me of, can we take this child and sort of make it a blank slate for these families so they don't have to
Right.
worry about pesky things like their religion and their name of origin and keeping in touch with other family members.
Well, that's
They
why infant
disappear.
adoption is so highly sought after. You get a blank human.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow. Melissa, was your name always Melissa? I've never asked that before.
My first name didn't change. Yeah, that was Melissa.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, good. That would have kind of blown my mind if you had been like, oh no, I was a different name. Wow.
And I asked my mom when I met her, what did you name me after, thinking there would be, maybe the Allman Brothers, because that song had come out like the year before. And maybe that was part of it. But she was like, I don't know, I just liked it. Like, you wonder for 30 something years, am I named after a certain thing or something? And no, I just liked it.
Yeah, that's kind of both of my kids' names. They had some symbolism, and the middle names for sure have more intent, but the first names are like, we like these names. I want to read this quote from Jason in the chat too. This is kind of clicking back one conversation. As a Gen Xer, I'm finding it hard to reconcile that the greatest days of my childhood were laying the groundwork for the horrors we're facing as adults. Like, fucking A, Jason. Yeah. That's good. You are not wrong. That is what was happening, and we had no idea. We had no idea. Oh my gosh, look at all these amazing comments. I can't even read about all of these.
I know it's streaming by today. Thank you everybody for being here and for being so chatty.
I know Rachel is saying, this woman votes Rachel. Have you heard Buttigieg talk about how he had a discount on his kids because they were mixed race?
I had not heard that, and that I just replied to that and said that sounds gross, and I really liked it. So I hope the context was made from a place of outrage and not like, well, we got a discount on our kids because,
oh my God. If
I hear those conversations when you dig into for a while there. I had to stop for my mental health, but I was monitoring, like I followed several private adoption pages on Facebook back when I was on Facebook, and there were specials. They ran specials. There were sibling sets, and you did get, discounts if you adopted the sibling set. I know for my family, it wasn't so much as what it cost, because they went through the state, so it didn't cost a whole lot anyway, but they got bonus payments because they adopted siblings, and my brother is disabled. So they got a much higher monthly stipend, and they got that monthly stipend until we turned 18. And then when I was 18, they were kind of like, well, thank you. We've done our duty to the state. You have not turned out to be a card carrying Republican. So good day. It's been swell.
Wow.
Yeah, in reading your work on Adoptere, am I saying that right? I've always seen it written, but
Adoptere.
I had a feeling it wasn't quite right, which is a publication Melissa runs for adoptees. The one thing I'd never considered in adoption, Melissa, was failed adoptions. What you just described of, we have fulfilled our legal obligation to you. You are now an adult. Peace out.
Yeah. And that's a tremendous number of adoptions. I would wager, with the work I've done and the people that I've talked to, hundreds and hundreds of people, that I would say it's far more common to have a failed adoption than not. But I mean, with the system that we have currently in place, it kind of facilitates that. You would think that if you need to place a child, particularly I was 6 at the time, if you're going to place a child that's already a sentient being, then they
Right.
would spend time with that family and see if it is going to be a good fit.
Right.
We were a 3-month process from the first time we met these people till we were in court becoming legally their property. Just like that, they erased my name, any mention of my parents. They give me a fake birth certificate, which that's a whole other situation
A
now
fake
in the
birth
age of
certificate?
ICE.
When you were
Am I
6, they
frozen?
gave you a new birth certificate?
Yes, we got a new birth certificate and it put the adopter's name as mom and dad. And now what you're seeing with ICE is, God forbid, okay, I'm white and I was adopted by white people, so I'm pretty much safe from that. But my birth certificate looks weird. It looks not right because it's
Right.
not right. It's human trafficking, but it literally is a fake birth certificate. But so people, these kids who are brown, who were adopted into families, who now no longer speak to those adoptive parents because that fell apart after they turned 18, are stuck with these fake looking birth certificates in
Oh,
the age of
Jesus.
ICE. And now you have adopted children. I've read 5 stories in the past couple months of kids who are adopted by American parents. Their American parents don't want anything to do with them anymore, and they are being deported
Oh my God.
because their birth
Wow.
certificate isn't real. No shit, it's not real. But at 6 years old, I didn't have a part in that forgery.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Right.
The
It's not like,
trafficking,
yeah,
the
you were
forgery.
at 6 going into a back alley and being like, hey,
Yeah.
can you get me a birth certificate over here? How much I gotta pay?
Right. Yeah.
Oh my God, Melissa. Like, here we thought we were going to be talking about mostly about Julie Roginski's breaking story and about the
Which we can
falsification.
still do.
But we are, I mean, and we have,
Yeah.
the conversation has just moved, but it's all related.
It
It
is
is
all
honestly,
related.
I'm really, really struck by how much of this is all connected together, right?
Yes.
Yes, by
You
like
know,
kids not having
Rights.
kids not having rights, and just kids being abused, systemically abused is what's coming
Let,
to mind. That like this, the
I'm
very system that's supposed to be protecting them is the one
I don't know
that's
if you guys have been watching
covering this up.
the Ken Burns masterpiece American
the American
Revolution, and I know
Revolution,
people
I
have big,
watched the whole thing. It is
yes,
fantastic.
I know people have big opinions out of it, but one of the things that I feel like he kept hammering and that we have got to come to grips with is, until we deal with our foundational, fundamental sin of wanting to own human beings in some way, shape, or form, we will never be healthy and advance as a nation, because it went
Absolutely.
from chattel slavery to children. We want
Yeah.
to own children. And now we have an entire multi-billion-dollar industry that trades kids, and it's legal. We call this legal. Did you know it's legal to rehome your adopted child? There are
Yes.
Facebook groups where you
Mm.
make posts on Facebook like a puppy. Oh no, she peed on my floor. Gotta go. Looking to rehome this human child. All of this is considered legal. So until America stops with the fundamental foundational desire to own other human beings, we're gonna keep fucking up. We're gonna keep being a sick society at our core, because all the Epstein stuff is wrapped in this idea that
Yeah.
we own these girls. With a
Yeah.
few dollars, we can own these girls, and then we can do whatever we want with them.
Yeah. You know,
Oh my God,
Melissa,
Melissa.
you are exactly right. Because, I mean, when you think about how did Epstein mastermind this like global human trafficking, pedophilia ring, right? It's, well, if you're already buying and selling kids,
Yeah.
like some
Yeah.
of your product isn't going to sell, right? Some of it's going to age out and suddenly become sexual, girls are not sexually viable, but like like it doesn't make sense, but you can almost see how, well, we've got these kids over here that are 13 and nobody wants to adopt them. What are we going to do with those ones? I'll throw them in the whorehouse.
Right.
They need a
This is the
career.
logic I think that these people are
Oh my
using. It's
God.
like patriarchal white supremacy, person ownership, chattel
Yes.
slavery, exactly like you're talking about, Melissa.
um, my jaw is on the ground, and it's just reminding me when my eldest was in preschool still, one of her friends at preschool was adopted, and the parents got rid of him. He was the sweetest little boy. I don't know what he was like at home, but I don't care what he was like at home.
Yeah.
When you signed, like, I've always known adopted kids. Like, I had friends who were adopted, some within the US, some who were brought to the US, and my nephew is adopted. And I'm very lucky and grateful that all of these kids who, and mostly now adults, were very much part of their families. Like, there was never in my mind, I was like, oh, it's the same. It's just the way you got there is different, and that's it. So this was the first time, and I had kind of forgotten it because it's been so long, but you saying this, that I was like, oh, where is so-and-so, this little boy? And the woman who ran the daycare had to be like, his parents got rid of him. And we were so horrified. And then two facts. One is that family came back and they were like, oh, we adopted another kid. We got a better one. Like,
Oh my God.
wanting to put this kid in the daycare. And they were like,
No.
under no circumstances do we want to talk to you again.
Yeah.
But guess who adopted that little boy? Two gay men.
Good.
I don't even know how I remember hearing this from the daycare. It's great that he found a home. And also, like, if the Trump administration has their way, they probably won't allow that to happen. But like,
Right.
who picked up the pieces of this then 3 or 4-year-old who undoubtedly traumatized, right? Like, I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
3-year-old kids are like just a ball of
I
it.
was so jaded by 6 years old because I'd already been through 8 foster homes. I didn't get attached to adults. I didn't,
Oh my God.
I saw right through most adults. They would play nice in front of the social worker and acted however they wanted behind closed doors. So
Yeah.
by 6 years old, I was already incredibly jaded. I was over it. And then I'm adopted by these people that want me to fit their mold of what they think a little girl should be like. I had a mouth on me at 6, like I got a mouth on me now. So obviously
My God.
there
God,
was a
what I
conflict.
would
Melissa standing up for justice and truth.
I want to see little 6-year-old Melissa. Although
I
you
was
kind of can.
feisty. I mean,
I've seen your daughter.
I
She looks
fought
just like you.
I fought foster parents. Especially because my brother was with me for most of those foster homes and he has cerebral palsy. And I guess it's a lot easier to abuse a disabled kid than a regular kid that will fight back. So I would fight back, I would fight him. So, I mean, and so, like I said, by 6 years old, and all of these people had been vetted by the state to be foster parents, and some
Of
of them
course.
should be in prison for the rest of their life. They should never be around children ever. For all I know, they're still foster parents.
Yeah. No,
Melissa,
this
have you
family out
ever?
here, they gave another kid.
Yeah,
They were
Yeah,
like a pair of jeans that didn't fit. They're like,
yeah.
we want to send this one
You return
back.
it.
He's kind of obnoxious. Can we get a different baby?
right.
I
Mhm.
Melissa, did you have you read Demon Copperhead by Barbara King Solver?
No.
Well, it's an amazing book. I really think that you would like it. It's a retelling of the David Copperfield story, but Barbara King Solver sets it in Appalachia, and so many of the issues that you're talking about are represented in the book. And somebody asked her, like, oh, why did you make his life so tumultuous, and all the rehoming, and being traded, and blah blah blah, and and she was like, I didn't I didn't make that shit up. Like, that's
It's
what
real.
happens. That's a
Hmm.
100% real. Like that.
Right.
I'm talking about people I know.
Yeah.
And it
So
like, I think it's eye opening for a lot of people who don't have any perspective into the adoption system or the foster care system or the way that that works. That it is human trafficking in a lot of ways.
yes. And there's another great book. So I worked at Alexander Youth Network, which is an incredible organization. They're 130 years old now. They transitioned out of being a orphanage that was a church run orphanage to being a residential mental health care facility for kids. And so almost every one of the kids in our care, I mean, over 70% on any regular basis was out of foster care or adoption system. So they were heavily traumatized by the system itself. And we were spread out over the state of North Carolina, and we did have an office in the foothills of Appalachia. And something that became, unfortunately, I wouldn't say common, but it definitely happened more than once, was children being raised as dogs. They were placed in kennels, they were fed on the ground, they were chained or shackled into those cages, and that's literally how they led their life. And so Dr. Bruce Perry, who's a neuroscientist, started doing a study based on one of these kids that was raised as a dog to, I want to say 6 years old, don't quote me, 5 or 6, and then entered neurosequential behavioral therapy to bring him up to the normal developmental milestones of his age, much less process the trauma and everything. And so what he discovered out of that research, he wrote a book called oh shoot, it's probably on my bookshelf around here somewhere. The Boy Raised as a Dog, I believe, is the title of it.
Oh my
And it's
God.
Dr. Bruce Perry. And what he discovered, which has been groundbreaking research that has changed the way we do therapy for kids, is that your brain is literally developed differently when you are just constantly in traumatic situations as an infant and toddler, because your brain is being washed with fight or flight chemicals. It's being flooded with dopamine, it's being flooded with adrenaline. And when they do MRIs and CAT scans of the brains of these kids, they are literally different. Like if I were to have an MRI or CAT scan done, my brain is probably literally shaped differently. And so different sections of the brain develop at different paces or don't develop fully at all. So my impulse control that I have in adulthood, is that ADHD or is that systemic of the brain development from my childhood? We'll never know. But the amount of adoptees that have ADHD or autism is staggering. And it probably is not actually classical autism or classical ADHD. It's literally our brains and the way that our brains developed during that period of our time where we were under constant trauma and constant adrenaline and constant fight or flight. So, I highly suggest anybody reading The Boy Raised as a Dog. I think that's the name of it, but it's Dr. Bruce Perry, and his work is so enlightening. And to think that we have that knowledge, we have people like Dr. Perry that are doing this work and putting the information out there, and yet the adoption system still exists, the foster system still exists, because there's so much money in it. There's so much money in it. And then you look at these girls, because the brain development continues, as we know, until you're 25, 26, right? So even at 13, 14, 15, when you're being trafficked and sold into sexual trafficking and human trafficking, your brain is still developing. So when you are in situations where your brain is being washed with adrenaline and you're in constant fight or flight, all of that is going to change the way your brain develops. Did Virginia Giuffre kill herself? I don't think so. I don't think anybody believes that. But would it be possible that suicidal tendencies are greater, not only because of the trauma you experienced, but how your brain development was altered during that time?
Right.
100%. It's
I just want to acknowledge, like, we've got a lot of folks in the chat kind of raising their hands and saying that they had these experiences or similar experiences. And we love and respect everyone in the chat so much. And we're grateful that you're here with us. We're grateful that you're talking to us. And we cherish your vulnerability and your ability to share with us as a community. So thank you for being here, and thank you for sharing your heart and your heartbreak with us. It's a safe place to share it. And, you know, I think we're all kind of powered by the sense of justice that we feel, you know, around these issues. And it's why we want to take our country back and make the world a better place, because fundamentally, when it comes down to it, we all just want to protect the kids. right? Like,
Yeah.
I think if you kind of drill down into what's motivating each one of us here, it's that fundamentally we would like to make sure that the next generation and the generation after that, that they are growing up in a safe, healthy, loving, educated environment where they can achieve their full potential. And so many of us didn't get that, and had such completely devastating experiences as kids. I wish we could change it.
Me too. Lawrence, we talk a lot about how Gen X, our generation, is here to heal generational trauma. And that means personal as well as societal. And this just ties into that so much. And I'm so struck by how many hands are being raised in the chat. First of all, that there are a lot of adoptees in our community, which I didn't realize till today. It seemed like a very high percent of names going by either were adopted or were adjacent to an adoption. So, and so many people are saying, like, I've never heard this before. So thank you, Melissa, for sharing your experience and for connecting dots in such a powerful way. Like, I, as you're talking about all of this, I'm just thinking of we'd like to think we can heal here, Lawrence, on the show, but
Right.
my God, things are going to be so much worse. Like, we won't live long enough to see our country remotely come out from under the trauma of a second Trump administration. Like,
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
we're seeing things enacted
those,
and in policy and literally happening kind of right in front of our eyes that, yeah, they're going
yeah,
to reverberate for decades, for 100 years, right? Like, it's
yeah,
the stuff that's happening now is going to echo for at least 180 to 100 years.
right.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, they've done studies, and sorry, I'm not a scientist here at all, but that like trauma is passed down through DNA, that like
right.
Jewish
Right.
people like you and me, Lawrence, are carrying the trauma of the Holocaust in our genes. I
Well,
mean,
not me, because my family moved here in the 1880s from Russian pogroms, but I'd imagine the pogroms, forcing them to leave was kind of as
sure.
horrifying as the Holocaust,
I
maybe.
guess the having lived through the era, even if you weren't captured. My family's not direct descendant either. They left a couple decades before, but I just gave that as an example of
Yeah.
like trauma living on and being passed down. In 2016, that awful night in November when that when Clinton lost and Trump won. I remember leaving the bar. Lawrence and I held an election night party. We had like 70 people there, all of
Mhm.
the friends' kids, all daughters mostly, because it was, my kids and their friends. And we were there to see the first woman president to get elected. And it was such a joyous night at the start, revelry everywhere. And then it became clear very quickly that it was not going to be a happy night. So we all just sort of numbly packed up and left. And I didn't cry. And I remember walking to the car with my kids being like, wow, I'm not going to live to see the damage undone by this. They're going to be at least my age now before the pendulum swings back. I was thinking specifically about abortion rights and Roe v. Wade.
Yeah.
Like that night, it was very clear to me of like, Roe v. Wade is toast.
Hmm.
My kids will probably, by the time they are sexually active, it will already be gone. And it will never come back probably until they are postmenopausal. That was my thought that night. It's a 40-year cycle, at
Yeah.
least. But
Yeah.
we did it again last election cycle. And I'm now like, you're right. It's 100 years, Lawrence. We will
Yeah.
not come back from this. Like, if I'm lucky enough to have grandkids one day, they might see the end of it if the
Right.
world
I
isn't.
think if we empower people to talk and tell their stories, that's going to accelerate this, though. I think
I
about
think so.
these women that came forward and stood on the steps of the Capitol and what they risked in their personal lives to do that. Every
Right?
single one of the Epstein victims who have come forward is risking something. And for years, I kept my adopter secrets and I continued trying to have some kind of relationship with them because they were the only family that I knew. So
Hmm.
I was the one picking up the phone, reaching out. I was the one calling. They were very clear in every conceivable way that they wanted nothing to do with me. But I kept trying until I had an adoptive aunt stop by my house to visit me. She was passing through town and she said, "How about I stop and have lunch?" And so at the time, I lived in a 5-bedroom brick ranch on a 2-acre wooded lot that I had purchased. And we had lunch, and she looked around the house and she said, I have to admit, I'm kind of surprised. And I was like, why would you be surprised? At the time, I had just finished my first year, wrapping out my first year of my own consulting firm. I had been in the Navy, won
Can we
some
just do
medals.
this for you, Melissa?
I worked in nonprofits for 10 years until I opened my own consulting firm. So I'm like, why would you be surprised? And then she tells me that my adopters had been alluding to severe drug use, interaction with law enforcement. Like, they had been making up these lies about who I was to justify why they weren't speaking to me.
Mm-hmm.
And that all was denigration of my character and acting like I was a drug addict that was, in and out of jail. And my aunt's just looking around my house like, well, that's clearly not true. And so I decided in that moment, I started writing a couple months later because I was like, you know what? Fuck them.
Yeah.
I have spent 15 years of my adult life attempting to be the person that they wanted me to be and be this upstanding. And the whole time, I am an upstanding citizen. I am a productive person. You know what I mean? Like, I am a successful person. Why am I continuing to keep their secrets and who they really are when they're out here making lies about me? And around the same time, I read Anne Lamott's Bird by Bird, where she said, you own your story. Right. Tell your story. If they wanted you to write warmly about them, they should have behaved better. And it was like, ding, there it goes. And then I got on Medium and started writing. And there were definitely moments where I got messages from people from my little hometown that were like, how dare you speak about so-and-so and so-and-so that way? They're lovely people. Like, well, okay.
You grew up in their home.
I don't know what to tell you, but I also got more messages from those small town people that said, I'm so sorry. If I had known what it was like in your house, I would have helped you. I'm so sorry. And people that went to high school with me that sent me messages that said, I went through this too. And I can't believe we were walking in the halls together, just masking. Everything's normal. Everything's fine. And we were both going through this stuff at home. Thank you for saying what you're saying. I don't think I can because I still live here, but I appreciate. So I think the more people speak up, because you're right, just in our comment section, just when I go and have conversations with people, the amount of people that have been sexually abused in their childhood, adoptees that were abused physically, sexually, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, across the board is positively staggering. So all of the people who have been through that, it helps. I know everybody just is not at the place to talk about it. But what I wanted to do with Adaptary, what I want to do with Counterstory Media is to provide that safe space for your story when you're ready. Let's talk about it. And even with Served, with the stories of veterans, the stories I get from Vietnam vets are unbelievable, and they don't want to go to the grave holding the government's secrets. So we are all collectively tired of holding abusers' secrets. So we need to get it out and inform the national dialogue, and that, who knows, may prevent things like the Epstein circle, the trafficking ring, from happening again. If 15-year-old girls are empowered to go to the adults around them and say, hey, this is happening to me. Let's get there. Let's make that
all tied.
That's what ties it all together, right? Is that we are tired. You said we're tired of holding our abuser secrets, and that's literally what's happening on the national stage in front of us right now with the Epstein files. Is Trump is clearly and obviously an abuser, and is clearly and obviously named repeatedly in the Epstein files. And they are trying to whitewash it or redact it in such a way that it makes him appear innocent or less guilty or whatever their objective is. And it's just fucking not true. And, I, for one, am tired of, at the age of 55, plenty of people telling me to disbelieve the evidence of my own eyes. you know? Like Trump
Yes.
is clearly a bad person. He's
Right.
clearly shitty at his job as president. He's clearly too old and too senile and too whatever to actually be in that office right now. Like, come the fuck on, people. Like we just have to get past this moment. And I hope and I pray that all of the horror that is embodied in the Epstein files, that it can unleash a movement that is bigger than just this, that we can
Yes.
use to power the rebuilding and the restructuring of our country, because we're fucking doomed. We're doomed with these people in charge. We are
Yeah, if we
Yeah.
can't
doomed.
get past this,
Right.
I don't see how we get out. I've held a spot up in the chat here, Melissa. Sandra says, Melissa, you are an American hero. And I wanted to say it out loud on here of like, this is how we make a difference. How many people are here today who are hearing what you're saying and they're like, oh my God, yes, and me too. Yeah, Kat is saying, oh, Melissa, you and I have the grossest things in common. I love you, my friend. Elizabeth is recommending the book The Body Keeps the Score by
Yeah, I wrote that
Bessel
down.
van der Kolk. Yeah, that sounds really good. Oh my gosh, just the all of the stories in here that people are. Yeah, Stuart says Melissa came out of it with flying colors, unbelievable testament to her dignity. Yeah, just an unbelievable testament to your courage.
Yeah.
Well, after
We're
I
so glad
met
you did.
my mom, and my mom started telling me stories about her mom and her mom's mom. I come from a line. I'm going to get emotional.
Do it.
I come from a line of women who endured unimaginable shit. I mean, and they came out of it with dignity, and there was divorce before divorce was common, and there was a sense of community among the women in my family, that they took care of one another when those divorces happened and when they left the men that beat them. And um it's in my genes. I carry, I'm sure, plenty of trauma in my genes, but that has made us super strong, super fighters. So I look at my kids and they're even stronger than I am. So we're just going to rebuild the trauma in that genes to make us stronger and stronger and stronger.
Yeah. I want to end on maybe a hopeful note, which is Shar said something in the chat a while back now when we were talking about generational trauma, and she said 7 generations. And so Shar is my friend and my teacher, and oh my God, I'm gonna cry.
Oh.
And I have had the joy of learning from her for a really long time. And she comes from an indigenous tradition, and the thing that she adds into her prayers all the time that really like reset my frame of thinking is, in her prayers she asks for something to be like the for the highest good of this generation and for the next 7 generations. And that is such a mind fuck when you think about it, right? Like, what if we were all doing things that weren't just good for us and good for our generation, but we're literally thinking about the next 7 generations to come? Like, if we had to think 200 years into the future, like what the consequences are for these actions. And I mean, I think, the world would obviously be a better place. We would value each other and the natural world so much more. Um, but maybe that's the kind of thinking we need to get out of this place of just abject moral poverty, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that we're such a young country. We don't collectively, we don't think beyond our own noses, right? We're
Right.
just
Right,
like, oh, am I getting an incentive tariff check?
right,
Right.
Done. This
right.
is
And
clearly
then,
the best thing.
we could have looked to the indigenous people who were on this land
Yeah,
and looked
Right.
to the decisions that they make. I mean, we know now with archaeological evidence that a lot of these tribes had the technology to do some level of industrialization and automation and production in that way, and they chose not to. And so the fact that they chose nurturing nature instead of exploiting it for everything they could dig out of it, that they would plant crops in a way that were regenerative so that it nurtured the soil for future crop cycles. They didn't just plant a bunch of shit and leach all of the nutrients out of the earth and
Genetically
then
modified
move
corn
on.
and soybeans, right? Yeah, monocrop.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we could have all the things we could have looked to indigenous populations to learn. They've been here thousands of years and have established civilizations. What can we learn from them? But instead, you have this white patriarchal, we know best, so we're going to come in and make them do everything our way. Right.
And by the way, here's smallpox. Have fun with
Yes.
that. Sorry, that's a bad joke, but
yeah.
My gallows humor. Oh, yes. And I wanted to say this earlier, Amber. Thank you in the chat for bringing this up. We had your weirdo friend on a couple weeks ago, and they said one of the most profound statements that is exactly this conversation of domestic, what we're experiencing as a country, this moment in political time, is domestic violence at scale.
It is.
Yeah.
That's such a succinct, beautiful way of connecting it. What this conversation has been for the last 50 minutes.
Yeah.
Domestic violence at scale.
Yeah.
It all starts at home. It all starts with how we treat our kids. And I don't just literally mean our own children we bore, but the children of this country.
Yeah.
Right. No, I mean, I'm a gay dude who doesn't have kids, but I think about the children as my, I'm the uncle, I'm the gunkle, I want I'll happily pay my taxes if every kid gets fed and clothed and educated and lives in a safe home, and goes to a good school. Fuck yeah. Tax the fuck out of me, please.
Yeah. It's, I don't think I'm naive about the world. And even I'm a little shocked by how many people in the chat today were like, yes, me too.
Right. I'm not.
For the abuse. No. I'm so sorry for everything you've been through. I'm so grateful you were here to kind of kick this conversation off and connect the dots, Melissa. And I hope this was supposed to be like a year-end recap, looking forward to the future episode. I feel like this has been really, I hope this has been healing for a lot of folks. And that's our stories are all we have to connect us to the past and bring us forward and try to make everything better. So thank you for sharing yours. The new Me Too movement,
Yeah.
If only our country could have nuanced conversations.
Right.
And
right.
Without experiencing weird Russian-backed backlashes.
Right. Right. 22-second reels clipping weird parts of it that made no sense. Our show is always a conversation, not an interview. And this is why it can take a while of talking to get to the root of it. And I'm kind of blown away with the direction the show went in today. Thank you so much for coming on, Melissa.
Of course.
Yeah, we're going to talk to you again and again and again next year.
Right. And I'm just going to say, Teo Tuaki, Wauki, I'm following you just because that's a cool fucking name. And I appreciate your comments.
Yes, I'm so glad. There's so many comments I see that
I know.
Teotihuacan has one of this was so needed right now. Therapeutic. We need more conversations like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a lot of comments. Jason has one here, and I've seen more earlier of we need to root cause why our country wants to worship Trump right now. And I think that's what this conversation is doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's control and it's money. Money is embedded throughout this. Epstein was able to traffic all these girls for money. It was money. The private adoption agencies have a lock on the adoption industry because of money. You cannot be a strictly capitalist nation and spiritually healthy. It's not possible.
And if we want to up-level it even more, right? Look at what we're about to do in Venezuela, right? We all know we're about to go in and fuck up Venezuela as a part of a fake war. Wars leave orphans, right?
Yes.
If you want to talk about how this is all tied together, the war rolls through, kids are orphaned, women trying to survive maybe have to turn to sex work just to, and end up having kids that they can't support. And then you've got, children available for adoption, right? Or
Right.
available
Yeah.
for sex trafficking or what,
That could be
like,
why Pete Hegseth has included in this year's NDAA extra money for service members who take in kids for fostering,
yep.
which is in the NDAA. Isn't
I
that
mean,
weird?
right?
Really?
It's
That's very
all fucking
specific.
connected. It's all tied together. And you're
Ah,
right, Melissa. It's all money. Wars are about money and power, and all of this is money and power connected to the, fucking white supremacist patriarchy.
Right.
oh my
And we're gonna
gosh.
burn it all to the motherfucking ground.
Yes. Um,
On that note,
on that happy note, yeah, yeah, burn it all to the motherfucking ground. Quick programming note, I guess. We're here this week, the Daily Whatever Show. We have not yet posted our week ahead,
oh right, yeah,
but we
sorry.
it's a Florence. That was not me coming down on you at all. We together have not done it, but quick rundown. We've got some of our favorites of the year and one new special guest coming in this week. We've got Opinionated Ogre Tuesday, tomorrow, joining us. We have Ellie Leonard. We've got Ellie Leonard coming in Wednesday, and we're going to talk about these Epstein files. In fact,
Mm-hmm.
while we've been on air, she just dropped a PDF file and said, posting this here before it gets redacted or taken away. So you may want to go take, I haven't even looked at it yet, but
Oh, it is the thing that you quoted earlier, Dana, about the, what Trump liked to do to the girls. It's that file.
oh, yeah,
Page
okay.
16.
Trigger warning. So
Trigger warning.
there you go. We are taking Christmas off on Thursday. We will not be here, but we are coming back for Fucked Up Friday on Friday with very special guest Kazim Rashid. So cannot wait for that. I love his work, and I kind of can't believe we're going to get to talk to him Friday. So
Yeah.
then we're going to take a week off between
And
Christmas and New Year's.
I love that on Friday, the day after Christmas, it's going to be two Jews and a Muslim guy talking about what they did for Christmas.
Oh my God, you're so right. Yeah. Oh God, what news is going to drop on Christmas? Now I'm scared.
Honestly, right? Like, I saw somebody, I think Stephanie Drury posted something. Our friend Stephanie Drury posted something that was like, if he dies on Christmas, I will go
Yes.
back to the church.
Yes. I saw that. Okay, 2026 goal. We have to get Stephanie and Melissa on a live together.
Oh my God, yes.
Because you're both like former evangelical,
right, survivors of the
Yes.
Christian evangelical patriarchy.
and just
yes.
like brilliant, amazing women and moms and just spitfires. You guys would get along so well. But we're taking a week off. And then when we come back in the new year, Lawrence, you will be off for 2, possibly 3 days at the start of the week. And Melissa is going to be my co-host so that we can
Yes.
keep going while you are on your secret scheming mission.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Secret
and
agent.
I spent a good chunk of my day yesterday booking guests for January, and we have some really good ones. So I'm not going to
Awesome.
spill the beans yet on who they are, but this woman votes. Rachel is coming in that first Monday of the year. I will spill that one. So it's going to be the three women kicking off the year on fire. We're just going to be like,
Oh my God, I
yeah,
love that.
yeah, it should be great. I'm
Yes.
really, really excited. All right, we should probably go.
Thanks everyone for being here. Thanks
Yeah,
for
this has been
amazing
such
conversation.
a good show. Thank you
Thank you,
all
guys.
for your time, energy, and compassion here in the chat. We love it. Lawrence, should we do our thing we were talking about where we just send this one live right away?
Oh yeah, for
Okay,
sure.
so we usually wait and post a big recap, and last week we literally didn't post recaps the whole week because the week got away from us. So we posted a weekend recap where we talked about the show, but otherwise we're going to use the Substack just auto posts in the interest of getting this out in the world faster.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. Thanks
Love
everybody.
you all.
Thanks Melissa.
Mean it.
Love you, mean it.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Ah.